my name is Veronica, and I'm going to tell you about nightmares. I'm sure a lot of you guys have had nightmares or bad dreams before. I know I have. But this is known as disturbed dreaming. So the difference between a nightmare and a bad dream is that you wake up suddenly from sleep in a nightmare. In a bad dream, you don't wake up. So according to Levin and Nielsen, it is still unknown whether they are two distinct phenomena or if they are a single phenomenon varying in intensity. So for today, I'm just going to talk about nightmares. I'm not sure if it's, so they're not even sure if it's two different things, but they do know that nightmares cause you to wake up. Nightmares are the most commonly experienced sleep disorders, and I'm going to tell you about the biology behind nightmares, the causes of nightmares, and different kinds of nightmares and what they mean. So, Levin and Nielsen define nightmares to be vivid and highly emotional dysphoric dreams that awaken the individual from sleep. During sleep, an individual undergoes non-REM sleep and REM sleep. So during non-REM sleep, it's the first 3 stages of sleep, and that's more of your deep sleep. So delta and theta waves are more common in non-REM sleep, and then in REM sleep, you're more likely to have brain waves of beta and alpha, like if you're awake. So beta waves are the brain waves that we have when we're awake, and REM stands for rapid eye movement, so that means that you have more activity happening in your brain, and that's why we have those brain waves. So these brain waves, include theta, alpha, and even beta waves. And breathing is more rapid. Your heart rate and blood pressure increase to almost waking levels, and that's why you wake up in a nightmare, because of all the physiological changes during sleep. And sexual arousal is common during REM, regardless if a person is having an erotic dream or not. So more than likely, you are sexually aroused when you're having a bad dream or just a dream in general, but definitely nightmares. And if you have ever woken up where you feel like you're paralyzed, during a dream, that is because of sleep paralysis. So when you're sleeping in REM sleep, your muscles are relaxed, and so it kind of protects you from acting out your dreams and nightmares. So if you wake up in the middle and you feel like you can't move, it'll usually go away within a couple minutes, but that's why. With all of the things happening in our brain during nightmares, there are many things that can cause them. So Scott Edwards says that stress, anxiety, irregular sleep, medications, mental health disorders, and PTSD can cause nightmares. And one of the huge factors to nightmares is stress. So anything stressful life events, anything big that's going on in your life. And a study found that nightmare incidence to be twice as high immediately after the 1989 San Francisco earthquake in 2 San Francisco Bay Area groups than in an Arizona sample, even though they experienced the same earthquake frequency, so they had the same magnitude of earthquake. But the 2 San Francisco groups experienced more nightmares because they were closer to the epicenter. So they knew that they were closer to where the earthquake was originating, so they were more stressed out and they had more nightmares. And this study was done by Wood, Boutsen, Rosenhan, Nolan, Hoeksema, and Jordan in 1992. Anxiety is another thing. So very high levels of anxiety. And people who take medications for depression might even have nightmares as a side effect. And in certain medications, it's really bad if you have nightmares as a side effect, so you should check out your doctor if you're not supposed to be having nightmares, like frequent nightmares. Irregular sleep, obviously, if you're not getting enough sleep, then your body will, depending on your age, your body will go right into REM sleep, and you might have more nightmares than usual, but it's better to have non-REM and REM sleep, obviously. And PTSD, there is a huge, strong link between trauma exposure and subsequent disturbed dreaming. So a study found that 52% of Vietnam veterans that had PTSD had frequent nightmares, and only 3% of the civilians in Vietnam reported nightmares, according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. So people with PTSD are way more likely to have nightmares, ironically, to the civilians there. I didn't understand that, but there's obviously the biology behind it. And obviously all these factors can induce nightmares, but what do these nightmares mean? Well, nightmares can vary in definition for everyone. I mean, my nightmare might not be the same meaning as yours or anything like that, but J.C. McAllister has a website that lists a whole bunch of kinds of nightmares that you can have and what they mean. So one of them is natural disasters, and since weather cannot be really controlled, this nightmare can indicate that the individual is holding stress and anxiety throughout their day-to-day life, and it's something that's not under your control. So natural disaster, obviously, a tornado, you can't really control what's going to happen. So maybe in your everyday life, there's something that's coming up, maybe that you can't control or anything like that. So that can be a meaning for it. Another one is seeing the dead, and this is linked to the inability to let go. So if a family member dies, then you might have more nightmares about seeing someone that died. This type of nightmare can also be linked to terror of the unknown and anxiety about personal illness. And this is most common in people with a life-threatening illness or terminal illness or life-threatening health problems. So maybe, like someone has cancer or something, they might have this kind of nightmare. Missing important events is a really big one for me. This is linked to anxiety about failing or not being able to perform to expectations. So I know I've had so many dreams about that I overslept, and I didn't go to class, and I had a huge test or something, and I'm always thinking about it, and I'm always waking up in the middle of the night like, did I go? Oh, good. I'm just sleeping, Like, that always happens to me, so that's like a huge one for me. And another one is nakedness. Obviously can't put a picture. It's often experienced by individuals that suffer from self-image issues and low self-esteem issues. I mean, this doesn't necessarily have to be linked with that. Even if you feel a little bit with you felt a little bit less low self-esteem sometimes or something, then you might have a dream like this. I don't know. And being trapped is another one. And this is common for individuals who suffer from claustrophobic anxiety, and that makes sense. If you don't like to be in enclosed spaces, you might wake up where you are in a box or something, or you might dream that you are in a box. It's also with individuals who are afraid of not being able to get out of the current situation. So that can also be financial problems or a negative relationship that you feel that you can't just get out of, so you feel trapped. And falling is very, very common. This is linked to anxiety in personal life and not being able to control oneself. So it's due to issues with money, relationships, careers, or some kind of abuse. So this person's unable to control a certain aspect or situation in your life. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I've had some dreams where I'm like falling down the stair and I wake up and I'm like, oh God. But, so yeah, that can be one. And lastly, the most common one is being chased or attacked. And this is a manifestation of being afraid of confrontation regarding something in one's life. So this can be, an abusive parent, an abusive person in a relationship, a pushy boss, or an unhealthy relationship. So you feel like you're constantly being attacked, like mentally. So you might have a dream that, someone's following you or something. All kinds of nightmares can mean different things to people, but these are the most common meanings. So doesn't necessarily mean that you have anxiety and all these things, because stress and anxiety are the most hugest, the most prevalent factors in nightmares, as I said. So as mentioned before, nightmares, As mentioned before, nightmares can cause an individual to wake up during their sleep cycle. There are many different types of nightmares, and the meaning can differ within individuals, like I said. So I told you about the biology behind nightmares, so what happens in our brains and what is happening with all the brain waves and all the activity. Some causes of nightmares, most prevalent, are stress and anxiety and even PTSD, and different kinds of nightmares a person can have. So hopefully you guys don't all have nightmares very frequently because it's really bad. So hopefully not, but there's many relaxation techniques we can do to lower your level of stress and anxiety so that you don't have a lot of nightmares. So thank you for listening.